we did a lot of work out in Panama City, where unfortunately it was a disaster that I've never seen the likes of, and it was complete devastation. And they were not prepared, not because they didn't take the steps to be prepared. When the hurricane was in the Panhandle, it was a Category 1. And Category 1, you usually see people just drinking some beers and doing barbecues, but it quickly went from a Category 1 to a Category 5 instantly. And the amount of shock that it put those poor people through was just devastating to see. I've seen very high-profile people that got scammed or tricked into signing contracts with people that are not licensed or qualified to adjust an insurance claim. As we enter hurricane season, it's very important to understand the precautionary steps to take in order to be fully prepared for when a storm hits.
Welcome back to Insurance Corner. My name is Flor.
And I'm Josh.
And this is Florida Public Adjusting.
Storms are extremely unpredictable, and as they start to form, it could be a Category 1, and then a few hours later turn into 2, 3, 4, and then 5. Today's date is May 26th, and hurricane season is just about a week away. It starts on June 1st, and it's actually been extended to September. So I don't know if that's accurate. Can we check that?
Yes, check.
I think let's do that.
June 1st until November.
November 30th. So we have, a long season ahead of us, and it's important that you are fully prepared.
So all insurance companies cover storms? Damage?
There are different coverages. It is important when you're living in a state which is prone to hurricanes to have a hurricane coverage, and it's typically different from your regular homeowner's dwelling policy. Usually it'll be bundled. Sometimes it'll be bundled. Other times you would need to actually pull out a separate policy. But there is a separate insurance policy for hurricanes, so it is imperative that you have hurricane coverage. But there is a difference between hurricanes and storms. So we will touch on that just really briefly. A hurricane is a named storm, or a tropical storm is also a named storm. So in your insurance policy, they will, depending on who the carrier is, obviously each carrier has their different languages, which is important to even give us a call just to take a look at your policy to see if you have the correct coverages. Some people will be covered for hurricane, but they won't be covered for storm, and vice versa. So it is important that you understand the policy language that you have insuring your home prior to any hurricane or storm hitting. Most of the time, if you are covered for windstorm, that doesn't necessarily fall under hurricane, and it would be covered under your normal policy. Dwelling policy. So it doesn't have to be a named storm all the time, and it just depends on who you're insured with and what coverage you have with that insurance carrier. We'll do a free policy evaluation just to see the basic coverages to make sure that you are covered by your carrier.
Can you be insured for storm and not for hurricane?
Yeah, it's possible.
Really?
Yes. So you have to take a look at the coverages. Most policies cover it, but you'll see there used to be that you'd have a separate policy, one for dwelling and one for... Some carriers just didn't offer hurricane insurance, so they would have to have, say, a State Farm policy on their home, but then they'll have to have Citizens for their windstorm. And also the deductible for windstorm and hurricane is very different. Usually a hurricane deductible would be a percentage of how much you're covered for on your dwelling, whether it's 2, 3, 4, or 5%. Could be a little bit higher. We've seen 10%.
10% too.
Which is, something you should also take into account when you're filing an insurance claim, because if you have a $300,000 policy and then you have a 10% hurricane deductible, that your deductible is $30,000, and that's extensive. That's a very high deductible.
Totally.
You want to try and keep it towards more the 2-3%, where it is remarkably less.
That's why you also can call us if you have any questions on your insurance company or your coverage, so we can explain you a little bit of your coverage, so you have an understanding of what it's covered, how much the deductible is.
I recommend if a storm is coming and you have the warnings, because usually there are warnings prior to a storm hitting, document your house, take pictures of all the elevations. If you're able to get on the roof, take photos of it. Take photos of your ceilings and anything that you could possibly document, whether it's a swimming pool or an extra additional structure. And that way, any excuse the carrier wants to bring of pre-existing loss damages, it's going to fall short because you took the steps to prove otherwise. And then we will take the steps to make sure that you are fully recovered. Just a few things that you could write down. A list is batteries, flashlights, canned goods,
Water.
extra water. If the shelves run out, which we've all been through, I think the entire world has seen what a pandemic could do, where instantly shelves are just, emptied.
Empty totally.
So,
anything.
Just a little history on Florida.
Yeah.
Our shelves go empty very quickly every time there's a hurricane warning out in the coast.
Totally.
So now the rest of the world understands what Florida goes through every time there's a hurricane on the horizon. So it is important to prepare now. You could prepare today before there's warnings. The canned goods last years. You could store water if it's in a
because the storm is
colder room.
Unpredictable, and sometimes it can
come out of nowhere.
Yeah.
See, we did a lot of work out in Panama City, where unfortunately it was a disaster that I've never seen the likes of, and it was complete devastation. They were not prepared, and they were not prepared not because they didn't take the steps to be prepared. When the hurricane was in the Panhandle, when it was in the Gulf of Mexico, it was a Category 1. And Category 1, you usually see people just drinking some beers and doing barbecues, and they'll be sitting in the eye flipping steaks. But it quickly went from a Category 1 to a Category 5 instantly. And the amount of shock that it put those poor people through was just devastating to see. It was something that I, saw firsthand. We took, truckloads of supplies, toilet papers, baby wipes, diapers, food, water, whatever we could possibly fill up in our cars and our trucks that we had. We just took it from here and just went straight up there and just on the street handed it out to people that were just completely bewildered. It looked like a war zone hit. So it's very important that even if it starts off as a tropical storm out on the coast, whether it's on the east side or the west side, make sure that you're fully prepared, because the unpredictable is something you don't want to wait for the last minute. Being prepared is one of the easiest ways that you'd be able to survive a storm and the aftermath of a storm with full confidence, making sure that you and your entire family is safe. That is the first step. And then, of course, after that, we get your insurance companies involved. But before that, making sure that you and your family and any
safe.
pets that you have are protected. If you do find yourself within a storm system, whether it's a hurricane or, if there's tornadoes or just tropical storms, and you weren't able to get to an evacuation or there was no evacuation set into place, so there are a few steps just to protect yourself and your family. Make sure that you stay indoors during a hurricane or a storm. You're away from all windows, any glass, any big objects that could fall off shelves. Try and find the strongest area in your house. Where down here in South Florida, it's all brick. Up north,
you can put some shelters on. Sometimes they use wood
to shutter
your windows, everything that it can explode, because you never know if you don't have windows, hurricane windows. You need to protect that, because if in a case like that, it can explode and you could be also hurt.
It's important that we go over how you could maximize on your claim in the event of a storm, and how you could, stay within the policy guidelines when a storm hits. So first, one thing I would say is make sure that you take, we just discussed food and water and batteries and etc. You need to take your valuables, and which would include passports, insurance policy, any cash, any jewelry. Make sure that's in a safe waterproof case, and it should be with you. And then once a storm hits, you contact your carrier. Most people contact their insurance carrier. However, when a storm does hit, the insurance carrier don't have the capacity to deal with the amount of insurance claims that come through. So what happens is they outsource what they call emergency adjusters, which most of these adjusters that come to your property have not even seen a storm before. they don't know how to identify damage. They'll walk onto a roof that is half empty, half destroyed, and they'll start marking down shingles as opposed to saying, hey, this roof needs a replacement.
Yeah.
So it is important that when a storm hits, if you do contact your insurance company first, that's fine. Make sure you call your public adjuster, because without a public adjuster, you are literally just waiting for something that's not going to happen.
I agree 100%. We've been dealing with claims actually that they filed by themselves, and then they figure it out that it wasn't what it's supposed to be. And how he stated before, most of the adjusters that they come from emergency, they're coming from a different state, so they have no idea what's going on or what happened or how to deal. So the best thing to do is to call your public adjuster, and of course contact us in the case that you have any questions.
We just had a client that called me the other day, and she said, Josh, look, I'm not sure if I want to use your services yet, because we filed the claim, we had the adjuster come out. I said, listen, that's fine. I said, let them do their job, and you're gonna see. If you need my help, I'm available. She called me yesterday, and she said, Josh, the guy didn't even get on the roof. And this is after a storm. It's very important that you understand that we have your back. We are on your side. We are adjusting for you, not for the carrier. We have your interests at heart. So when a storm hits, you make sure that you have your public adjuster on speed dial.
Yeah, we come right away as soon as you call us, and we will get into the roof. We will get to every place that it could be damaged, so we can also see what's going on and let you know what is going on.
Insurance companies like to use a kind of language where this is pre-existing damage, wear and tear.
Or what damage will insurance company not cover?
Right. So,
well,
when you go onto a roof after a Category 3 or 4 hurricane, and the tiles are completely ripped off the roof, and then they send over an engineer that writes that it was as a result of foot traffic on your roof. Well, it's obviously false, and you need to take action right away. So. Carriers do like to fall on to their experts so that they could, pass on the liability. However, if you have storm damage, it's clear. If it's there and it's covered, then you claim it, and we'll fight it. They can have whatever excuse they want to come up with, and we'll make sure that we have the facts and our experts and ourselves, just with our experience, to make sure that we have you fully recovered so that you can get back into your house.
What happened if on the storm damage you cannot live in your property? Like the hurricane was huge, and for bad reasons it destroyed your property. You cannot live, or it's unlivable.
So you have something on your insurance policy called additional living expenses. And that is a coverage which is put into place for that exact reason. If your house becomes uninhabitable, then you are able to find a location, and that's what that coverage is for, that specific coverage. So
you're going to be reimbursed.
It's another thing to just make sure that that you have that coverage, because some people don't. And if you don't, and your house becomes uninhabitable, then you're coming out of pocket, which could be extremely costly, especially today with the rising rates of inflation, and then you have rent, which is just on the rise.
And you never know how long you're going to be out of your property until what happened when they do the repairs and everything. So it's really important that you have that coverage. Also, your personal items, it's important that you have coverage for.
Yes, people are, it's from the language that I've understood was penny wise, pound foolish. So to save $100 a year, not to have $100,000 in coverage on your personal property, will be a big impact if you get hit from any kind of any claim, whether it's a fire, storm, water damage. If you're not covered for contents, then you could be coming out hefty for replacing your contents, which is your valuables. So it's important to make sure that you do have insurance for that as well.
And I saw a lot of people that they don't have even coverage for that too. So it's really important that you take a look of your policy and know what you're covered for. Because in any event, this damage that you have in your property, you can never know if it affects your personal items, if you have to move from your property. So it's really important that you know what you have in your insurance company. And if not, how we repeated many times, you can give us a call, totally free. We can help you answer all the questions that you have.
Yeah, so it's very important, and this is something that you need to take into account, even though it might not be so easy, but today with cell phones, it makes it a little bit easier. One of the requirements for additional living expenses is to make sure you save the receipts. Any contracts you sign for, say if you're doing a rental, because your house is uninhabitable. But again, if you have no kitchen, then you need you're eating outside. Yeah. So you need to make sure you document everything that you spend in order for it to be recovered, which is a very normal ask from the insurance company, because at the end of the day, they want to have proof that you actually needed it to survive.
Yeah. But you have
so
to
it is important to document, keep receipts, and just so that a lot of people don't understand when it comes to additional living expenses and food. So the way they calculate it is anything above the norm of living is that you are covered for, is something that is what you would be covered for. So if your normal living expense is $200 a month on groceries, and now as a result of you being out of the home or without a kitchen or without just the normal way, so it costs you $400, so the insurance carrier will reimburse you that $200. So it's important to understand that as well, because I think a lot of people think that immediately they get paid or reimbursed for every single penny that was spent, and they don't take into account their normal, regular living expenses. After a storm hits, and you turn around and you look from both sides, and you're like, thank God we're breathing, we're standing. There's a few steps that you could take to better your insurance claim, make sure that it's smoother as the process goes along. Walk around the structure, take photos of, the windows, the openings, any debris that would have hit the structure.
Videos, anything that you can...
Everything you could possibly do to document it. I think that is one of the best ways to have immediate proof of damage to your home. After a storm, a lot of homeowners and property owners, whether it's homeowners, commercial property owners, they like to give the insurance carrier a shot to see what they're going to do. It's very, very common. I walk up to people 2 days after a hurricane, 3 days after a hurricane, and they're like, no, let's just see what they're going to do. And I'm totally for that. The only thing I would say is that, unfortunately, when they wait to see what the insurance company does, all it is unfortunately delaying the course of recovery. So when filing a claim with the insurance carrier, I could say positively and confidently that I have never seen an insurance company indemnify their insured for the right amount of money. We've always gone and seen the discrepancies in their entire claims process. And again, I'm not bashing the insurance company. Again, after a devastation like that, it's very hard to keep up with everything. So if they're getting a payment out, they're just trying to follow the guidelines of the policy, and then there's the Florida statute. I could confidently say that I've never represented a client that has ever received the proper indemnity to fix their property. And without our help, they would have been stuck without a roof, without toilets, without...
And they have to pay out of pocket.
And they have to pay out of pocket, And a lot of people cannot pay out of pocket, but that's why they also have insurance in order to protect them in the event of a loss. Unfortunately...
That's why you have insurance.
Yes.
That's totally... And
that's a definition of insurance. It's okay to call your insurance carrier, have the insurance company come out, but I'll tell you, in my experience and over the 3,000 storm claims that we've handled, most of the time, you're just wasting time, because at the end of the day, we push the claim along as fast as possible to get that recovery so that you could go back into your house as quickly as possible.
We take care of you. The insurance company takes care of themselves. They don't. Sometimes they don't realize what you're going through or how fast you need things to be moving. So that's why we're here, so we can help you and we can protect you and defend your.
And also, not to bash an insurance company, but at the end of the day, when a storm hits, they're stuck with millions of claims, and it's a lot for any company, multiple companies to handle. It's not possible to get to everybody at the same time. So in order for your claim to be prioritized, you need to have a public adjuster. You need to give us a call.
It's great to have insurance, of course. Even if you don't have a mortgage, it's really important to have insurance. But also it's important that you have the right people to represent you in an event of a claim, storm or any other claims. So we can help you and represent you, and you get the maximum.
Something you need to be careful about is also representation. You need to make sure you have the correct representation.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people that pose as public adjusters that are not actual public adjusters, and they're just door knockers. And it's very important to stay away from these scams, because at the end of the day, they're going to still steal from you.
Sometimes they don't even answer you back.
No, they'll steal. They'll straight steal. Like that was too hard.
But it's the truth.
Yeah.
Last time I had a client that actually called me, stated that he had a really bad experience with a public adjuster because it was independent, and basically he knocked out the door how you stated, and basically he started the process and everything. Once he received the money, he never replied her back. She didn't have any contact with him. She doesn't know exactly what's going on, and now she's having an issue still at her house, and that she had to pay out of the pocket.
It's very important, and it could target anybody. Like I've seen very high profile people that got scammed or tricked into signing contracts with people that are not licensed or qualified to adjust an insurance claim. And it comes to a point where our hands are tied. So it's very important to just stop for a second, take a look at who you're talking to, make sure that they're credible, and if there is a little bit of a red, like if you have a little bit of an inkling that something could be wrong, then go with your instincts.
Yes.
Make sure that you do background checks on who is going to represent you. Take a look at their credibility, and make sure that you have the right representation that will make sure that you get fully recovered for your loss.
I don't know if you remember that time that a client called us and say like a salesperson went to his house and say, okay, I'm gonna send you the contract, and she gave him a different business card with a different name, and when he received the contract, it was from an attorney.
Yeah, you have to. Yeah, that's also another thing. You have to just make sure that you know exactly who you're talking to. Florida Public Adjusting has been around for 11 years. We've adjusted over 3,500 claims throughout the state of Florida. Yeah, from the Keys up to Tallahassee, Panama City, Pensacola, you name it. Any time a disaster strikes, we're there.
And it's really important to let them know that we have a really back office.
We have a strong entity. We have a strong back office. We have a list of experts that are experienced in the field. It comes back to credibility. When you have experts like anybody else, they need to be credible, because at the end of the day, when they are putting their name or license on your insurance claim, if it's necessary, that they have a leg to stand on when it comes to representing. So make sure that you just do your due diligence and don't just, sign anything because it looks good, or you're scared, or you're nervous at the time, or you're anxious. Make sure you do your homework and make sure you give us a call. We offer a free inspection. We will come to your property. We will document all the damages that you have, and then we could do the entire process from A to Z, where we will file the insurance claim, take the claim number down, get in touch with the examiner, get in touch with the adjuster, schedule the appointments, and come out to your property to make sure that it's evaluated by the carrier as soon as possible.
We actually have a really back office with professional people that will take care of any scheduling, any calls, anything that has to be made to the insurance company in a timely manner. So if you feel overwhelmed, you give us a call and we help you through the whole process.
Florida statutes have changed, and it went from 5 years to 3 years to 2 years. So if you have an insurance claim, if you have damage, you have 2 years from the date of loss to file the insurance claim.
Yeah.
We will be there as soon as we can, which is usually within 24 hours, to make sure that we are handling your claim from A to Z to get it exactly where it needs to be so that you come to a full recovery. We appreciate you joining us today on this very special topic covering hurricanes and storms. I take it personal because I've seen what it does to people, to families, to homes, and it's very important that you stay protected and that you prepare prior. So I encourage you to like, share, and subscribe our video with everybody that you love to make sure that they stay safe during this hurricane season. We are Florida Public Adjusting, and we will see you on the next one. Start fighting for toilet paper now.
Right.